I keep my goals to myself, cause whenever I share it with folks, they get a look upon their face and their memory floats to a time where their goals and the stars ain't...
What's good? We're going to get into TNA Impact from June the 18th, 2026. This was a pretty okay episode of TNA Impact. It was basically filler, if we're being honest. That's really what it was. Not really too much happened on this show. The main story is still Mike Santana and Nic Nemeth. They're still putting together matches for Slammiversary. That's basically about it. We're going to talk about two massive departures from TNA. Number one being Tommy Dreamer and number two being Tessa Blanchard. We'll talk about that briefly. And as per usual, we're going to talk about the ratings. And the ratings have dipped once again. So let's start with the departures first. So Tommy Dreamer was let go earlier in the week. I believe it just happened either on Monday or Tuesday. I think it happened on Tuesday. So he went on, busted open, and revealed that I think him and TNA both agreed to mutually part ways with each other, which is fine. Tommy just was not good at his job, in my opinion. But Tommy wasn't the only one to blame. It's also Hunter Johnson, a.k.a. Delirious. He's also to blame as well. And I do think in due time, TNA will get rid of him as well. So they probably didn't want to come after both of them at the same time. I wouldn't be surprised in due time they end up letting Delirious go as well. And, there's that. It needed to happen. Tommy Dreamer has been creatively bankrupt for a while, and it is what it is. Where does he go? I could see him going to maybe MLW, NWA, maybe even go to AEW and help out Tony Khan on the creative side of things. He could go to Maple Leaf and help out Scott D'Amore maybe. So that could happen. That could be a possibility. But we don't know. But it happens. It is what it is. It sucks. But TNA needs a change. And I do think in due time, Delirious will be gone from his position as well. So I do think that's going to end up happening. And who steps in? Maybe Road Dogg. Maybe he steps in. Don't know. But TNA definitely needs new heads of creative, new writers in general. And hopefully it happens in due time. So that's good there. Departure number 2, Tessa Blanchard. So she requested her release and she's gone. So it was granted. So that's fine. TNA really wasn't doing anything with her, really. They ended up putting her with Mila Moore and Victoria Crawford, the Diamond Collective. That faction went nowhere. They only had a little brief mini feud with the Undead Realm, Rosemary, Mar, Sade, and Allie. And they didn't do anything at all in this second run with Tessa. But it is what it is. It happens. Where will she go? She might just go back to CMLL because I think that's what she was doing before she came back to TNA. So she'll probably end up going back there. She will never be able to go back to. She'll never be able to go to WWE nor AEW. And if she messes up in CMLL, then she's fucked. There's nowhere she can go unless she wants to go, on the indies internationally, and that'll be about it, I don't really know. I could see her, like, if something went down in CMLL, I could see her maybe going to Stardom. I think that'd be pretty cool. Her in Stardom would be great, too. So I think that would be cool. But I doubt if she's going to go to WWE or AEW. Tessa did dumb shit, and she's paying for it, and it is what it is. At this point, if she doesn't make it in CMLL, where she ends up, spazzing out in CMLL, she's fucked. And that's just what it is. She's just royally fucked. So there's that. Again, I know people are online losing their shit saying, how could this happen? What's going on with TNA? TNA was not using Tessa Blanchard at all. They were not using her. They weren't. She was not a focal part of the show. There were sometimes she was on the show, and sometimes she wasn't on the show. So she's not like a focal part of the show. She just isn't. So there's that. And she'll be fine, basically. She'll be fine. Again, I do think that TNA will bring in more talent as the year continues to progress. I do think Aleister Black, Zelina Vega, they'll show up at some point. I also think that the Wyatt Six will show up as well. Maybe a couple other people who were released in the WWE releases, maybe they'll show up as well. So we'll see some new faces eventually. I mean, it's bound to happen, right? If Tony Khan wasn't so scared, and he was actually a real business or a real boss, and he actually just ended up doing releases, that could help out TNA, right? Like the reason why TNA can't grow and these small promotions can't grow is because Tony Khan just throws money at these guys and gives these guys, six-figure contracts, six-figure deals, and he locks them in there for like 3, 4, 5 years. Like, how do you expect TNA to grow when, because like a guy like Tony Nese, like he was on Dynamite as an example. Tony Nese should have been released from AEW like a year ago. What has Tony Khan done with Tony Nese? Nothing at all. So, there's that. I almost forgot to mention the ratings. So, the ratings for last week's show, which was on June the 11th, that garnered 191K viewers. And they scored a 0.02 in the 18 to 49 demo, which is not good. And again, what's killing TNA ratings-wise is doing taped shows. They're going to get more viewers if they do live shows because people are expecting things to happen on these live shows. And I don't understand why AMC has not forced TNA to kind of do more live shows. At least do maybe, I would say, 3 live shows a month. If not, well, if possible, try to definitely do a live show every single week. They have a small roster, and they could basically just do what NXT does, which is basically just stay in the same venue for a month and then go on the road for your pay-per-views. And that's what TNA should really do, in my opinion. It makes the most sense. That's what's causing the roller coaster ratings. These damn tape shows. But TNA's always been doing tape stuff since its inception. But I wish it would change. And maybe the ratings would improve if they did more live shows. Because I think TNA should be forced to do more live shows, if we're being honest. But it is what it is. Hopefully, the ratings for this week's show will be better. Hopefully. And get into this show. So, we kicked the show off with Xia Brookside. So, she opens the show. And she gets on the mic. She criticizes the fans for acting like she perpetrated an unforgivable crime by turning on Ying Lee, aka Xia Li. The Angel Warriors were supposed to be about turning Xia Brookside into a star. Instead, it was always about Ying Lee. Xia Brookside Should have betrayed Xia Li a long time ago. Her favorite part was seeing the tears in Xia Li's eyes as her world shattered. And at Slammiversary, Xia Brookside will win the Knockouts Championship. So, Xia Li shows up. She didn't want to wait until the pay-per-view to fight. She ended up speaking in Chinese. And I believe Brookside called Xia Li a dumbass earlier in the promo. So they got into a brawl, basically. Security came in, broke things up. Xia Li ended up taking out one of the security guards with a blockbuster, which looked pretty nice. And they were still trying to brawl with each other, but security separated them. So there's that. It is what it is. I don't expect for Xia Brookside to lose. If you really think about it, Xia Li just won the title, I believe it was last month sometime. So there's no way they're going to have her lose that quickly. It's just not going to happen. I do think eventually Xia Brookside will be knockout champion at some point. And she shouldn't have a long reign either. So, moving on from that, this leads us into Mike Santana. So he reacted to Daria Ray's order for there to be no contact with Nic Nemeth in the upcoming 6-man tag. If that order is violated, then she'll replace Mustafa Ali in the World Title picture, making it a triple threat at Slammiversary. Mike Santana knows how to be a pro, so he'll abide. However, Mike Santana will rip out Nic Nemeth's heart at the pay-per-view and eat it. I'm like, damn, this shit was insane. Good promo, though, but we understand what he means by that, though. It's all figurative, not literally. Not literal. So Casey Navarro, he showed up to kind of calm down Mike Santana. He wants the team to be on the same page because Order 4 will all try to take advantage of the tension. Casey Navarro has been piling around with Nic Nemeth recently. And Mike Santana had to remind Casey to remember he had his back over the years coming up through the indie scene. I believe so. And to not forget that. The idea that Casey Navarro could side with Nic Nemeth over Mike Santana. Okay, that's fine. I like this. This is pretty okay. And they are able to coexist because Mike Santana, Nic Nemeth, and Casey Navarro, they won. They defeated Mustafa Ali and the Great Hands, Order 4. So this was the first match of the night. This match here was fine. It was short and sweet. So there's that. Nic Nemeth and Mike Santana ended up pinning the Order 4. Nick ended up hitting a double danger zone for the 1-2-3. There's that. Ryan Nemeth post-match, he ended up attacking Mike Santana. Mike Santana was trying to spin the block on Ryan. Ryan got out of dodge, and he accidentally struck Navarro with it. So, there's that. It's fine. The problem with this is we are going to get another another 6-man tag on this show. Like, that's the problem with TNA. It's like, you don't need to do the same match twice. And they ended up doing it in the opener and the main event of the show. Not good. They have to really think about this shit. But it is what it is. So there's that. Moving on. This leads us into Nic Nemeth. He gave advice to Casey to not trust anyone and always had eyes in the back of his head. Nick tried to blame Mike Santana, but Navarro knew it was an accident. So Ryan, he butt in to laugh at Navarro. So Mike Santana showed up, being held back by security. He was doing a whole bunch of cussing and raging, which was hilarious. Mike Santana is a real one for sure. So the Nemeth brothers, they dip out. Mike Santana apologized to KC. Navarro said everything is fine and told Mike Santana to get his head on and stay focused on Slammiversary. Okay, that's fine. This makes sense. I got a feeling that at Slammiversary, we could see Casey Navarro turning heel and siding with the Nemeths. I think that could be a real possibility. Moving on, this leads us into the King speech. Oh my God, lame ass fucking Frankie Kazarian was on this miserable show. Well, was on this show. So Frankie ended up introducing both Cedric Alexander and Leon Slater. So Kaz, he hyped up the Ultimate X match for Slammiversary. He's the man who competed in the first ever Ultimate X, and he has the most wins on the active roster. So Leon Slater and Cedric Alexander, they have some words, which leads to, them shoving. So Cass kept the peace, and then he declared himself that he's going to be in Ultimate X as well by Dario Ray. So, okay, that's fine. Who cares? It's not really that important. I believe Amazing Red is going to show up. He's supposed to be on Slammiversary. I believe all 6 slots are filled. I think Tom Hannafin, I believe he announced all 6 competitors on this show. I wasn't really paying attention. But I think they've already announced all the competitors thus far. And maybe we'll do a mystery guy. Maybe maybe Santana will show up before the match starts and introduce, the Amazing Red. So, there's that. That's fine. Amazing Red is great. He's still good. He can still go. He's doing very, very well in House of Glory, booking wise and everything. So, he's doing well for sure. Moving on. AJ Francis, he was on the show. He had a really good vignette, which was hilarious. Excellent shit. So he's inspired by Suge Knight to be a music mogul. That's why he brought the rights to Elijah's music. AJ Francis wants to stop musicians who don't deserve the right to own their own music. And AJ Francis claims to be an inspiration to future music moguls everywhere. I like this. This was hilarious. He was smoking cigars and everything else. Wherever he was at said there were signs of no smoking. So that was hilarious. I love that. That was funny. Good shit there. So that's cool. Moving on from that, this leads us into Ricky Sosa. He defeated Dax Draper. So I don't know who the hell that is. I'm guessing he's some indie guy or whatever. Tom Hannafin said that he's been in the business for like 14 years, so he's a veteran. I've never known him. I've never seen him. He's probably spent time on like MLW, old Ring of Honor probably, and other, stuff like that. Maybe old Evolve before WWE purchased it. I don't fucking know. Anyway, Ricky Sosa ended up winning via the Blue Thunder Bang. Eric Young, his sorry lame ass was on commentary. So it is what it is. Who really cares about this? Ricky Sosa needs to win for sure. Eric Young needs to fuck off. It's the same thing with Frankie Kazarian, Moose, Brian Myers. It's time for TNA to clean house of these guys. Get rid of these guys. Put them, make them producers and everything, and just move on from these guys. Because TNA, they need a new roster ASAP, like immediately. They really, truly do. Moving on from that, this leads us into the Elegance brand. So they were knocking in on Dario Ray's office. So they want Mr. Elegance to be in the Ultimate X. Dario basically agreed because Mr. Elegance draws numbers. And then Indy Hartwell, she bumped into Ash by Elegance, and the two of them had words. I don't care about this shit at all, whatever. Moving on, Indy Hartwell defeated Elena Black. What the hell? It is what it is. And like the previous match, you had Mara Sade on commentary, just like how Eric Young was on commentary for Ricky Sosa. I don't like this at all. I don't like when promotions kind of basically do the same thing twice. And that's what TNA did. They ended up doing it in the opening match, and they ended up doing it in the main event. They end up having commentary done by wrestlers twice, which was dumb. I just don't understand it. I don't. I find it quite dumb. I really do. Post-match, all four women got into a brawl and everything else. I guess this is going to set up a tag team match. The Elegance brand. Well, no. Elena Black and Ash by Elegance taking on Mara Shade and Indy Hartwell next week, more than likely. It is what it is. I don't know why Mara Shade was even out there. They haven't hinted that they were going to continue the feud between Elena Black and Mara Shade, because Mara was doing Undead Realm stuff for about close to a month. So that's kind of weird to me. It's really fucking weird to me, but it is what it is. TNA, they do dumbass shit sometimes, and this was no different. But I mean, it's fine. Again, I'm a fan of three out of four of the women. Not Indy Hartwell, so she's the odd woman out. I just don't care about her. Ever since she had a bad match with Tessa Blanchard last year, I have not liked Indy since. So whatever. Moving on, Fabian Eichner, he approached Santino Marella and to ask for a spot in Ultimate X. Santino agreed, and Nic Nemeth, he ended up asking Santino if Casey Navarro can get a shot in Ultimate X, and then Santino agreed again, so there's that. So Mike Santana, he showed up, and he said that he's tired of Nic Nemeth's games, and he challenged Nick to meet him in the middle of the ring face to face. Moving on, this leads us into the main event of the evening. The System, they defeated the Hardys and Moose. Moose ended up wearing Broken Hardy attire, which was weird. I don't know why he did that. That was absolutely dumb. So it is what it is. The System, they win. Who gives a damn? Moving on, this leads us into the closing segment of the evening. So Mike Santana, he called out Nic Nemeth. Ryan Nemeth showed up to answer the call and to proclaim that his big brother will be the next world champion. So Mike Santana then called Nic Nemeth a big bitch. The crowd agreed with that, which was hilarious. They ended up chanting that. So Nic Nemeth, he finally showed up, and he congratulated Mike Santana for his 15 minutes of fame. Nic Nemeth said now that that's over, that's over now, and Santana is on borrowed time, and Nic Nemeth will win the TNA World Championship at Slammiversary. And Nick, he didn't come to the ring, so Mike Santana continued to hurl insults at Nick, and Mike Santana said that he'll see Nick at Slammiversary, and he'll still remain champion by the end of Slammiversary. And that was the show. So this was pretty okay. I actually like this. This makes perfect sense. I do think that a heel turn for Navarro is going to happen at Slammiversary. It's going to end up costing Mike Santana the match. That'll lead to a mini feud. Santana will eventually get his rematch, probably on a live episode of TNA Impact, to where he'll probably maybe put his career on the line and he'll lose there, and that's when we see him going to NXT. So I think that's what's going to happen. I doubt if Mike Santana will end up re-signing with TNA. There's no need at this point. He doesn't need to be a 3-time world champion if he loses at Slammiversary, which he probably more than likely will. So it just makes more sense. Leon Slater, I could see him sticking around for a little bit. If he does, I think TNA is going to end up making him world champion. I do. I think what the plan is, they're probably going to have him lose his contractual rematch at Slammiversary. He ends up doing some pretty okay feuds with whoever he can feud with. And then at Bound for Glory, maybe he goes after Nic Nemeth for the TNA World title, and he ends up winning the title at Bound for Glory, which would be great. So I could see that happening. I really could. And hopefully that's where all this leads, because it's time for Leon Slater to be in the main event scene. It's time for TNA to actually push young guys. Mike Santana is great. He's awesome, but he's done all he can do. Nic Nemeth, same thing. And I think they've hinted a while ago that they were going to probably basically do... well, they're wanting to do Nic Nemeth versus Leon Slater. And I think that would be great. They need to do that at Bound for Glory, their version of WrestleMania, and I think that would do very well. And then I think after that, Leon will probably end up going to NXT, because I do expect for both guys to end up leaving TNA. Again, the problem with TNA is they need to bring in new talent, and they need new creative, because I do see Delirious being let go at some point as well, too. I just see that. Maybe Road Dogg will step in, maybe. So all in all, this episode of TNA was okay for the most part. I kind of enjoyed it. But what did you guys think? Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.